I am the gaming minister Sho'Nuff, and I love being tall. So what is it about me being tall? Well, first off, I'm 6'9". Everywhere I go, anybody would ask me, oh man, wow, you're so tall. How tall are you? And they don't realize that, I get that question every single time. And it's just really been just an unconscious inquiry that many people will ask, or some people say, wow, you're such a big guy. And maybe I should just go around and ask, wow, you're just such a short person. Wow, you are just absolutely under average or below average height. How tall are you? I can only surmise you're only 5 foot even, 5'2", maybe 4'11". I don't know. What is it about me I love being tall? What is this all about? Well, it's about basically growing up. It's about basically understanding myself. And I think the first thing that I had to realize is that I am awesome. One of the keynotes that of the term I am awesome was that you have to really believe that, or more so this is something that you had to grow to understand. And one of my great friends, he would just say that. He would just say, I'm awesome. And I was just like, really? He was like, yeah, I'm awesome because I know I'm awesome. I've been, redeemed by the blood, and and God, and let alone Christ has forgiven me for all of my sins. And I know that I can move forward. So anybody wants to say anything crazy about me, I know I'm crazy, but I'm awesome. And, after that good laugh, man, I was thinking, dang, how do I feel about myself? There was a couple of verses in Proverbs 3 that I thought that this would coincide with being awesome. All right. And basically, Proverbs 3 speaks on never forgetting yourself, the word, and above all, yourself. And in verses 5 and 6 in Proverbs 3 speaks on don't try to understand your surroundings or what and the wise. Instead, acknowledge God in everything you do, even if you don't understand it. So what he says is trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. But in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will seek your paths straight. Now, what does this imply to you and anybody else? Well, a couple of things. There are some things in my life. Simplest thing. There's recently, this person was telling me that, they needed help. And in my heart, I was more of like, okay, well, I'm willing to help having a problem. And next thing you know, they told me to trust them. And, you have my word. It wasn't going to do, something wasn't going to happen. Something wasn't going to transpire. And I said, you know what? I'll trust you. No problem at all. I got you. Because I wanted to help them. I really did. And God saw that. Well, unfortunately, what had happened was, something transpired to the point where it went the complete opposite of what they stated. And yet it affected me, and it affected something that I was really trying to do. And due to that, I've lost. It was more of like, I was like, okay, you know what? This is causing a discord towards us and between us. And it did cause a discord towards us. And I even stated that I wasn't going to trust anybody anymore. But the thing of it was, for me, was that I allowed myself to trust what man said and not what God says. You know what I mean? And deep down, we have to really kind of understand that in all our ways, we have to acknowledge God. We have to order our footsteps in him. If you put him first in anything you do, then God is going to see that your path is going to be, will be straight, not going around it, not curving about it, not doing some hairpin turns or doing some cartwheels or whatever, but you're going to continue to move forward. All right. So that for me is very important. I think, so that way, if anybody was to say, well, trust what I say, you got my word, understand what I'm saying. But what does God say? Because the thing of it is that if I'm going to trust you, I got to put, I have to trust God first. So that way I could trust him in you. Because otherwise, if it's not what God tells me to do, if it's something I shouldn't be doing, God's going to show me, and God's going to definitely direct me the other way, and he's going to keep my path straight. And in verse 7 and 8, don't compromise the word or any situation, including sin, to your own bidding if it's not God speaking to you and interceding in you. Do yourself a favor and depart from it. It's very simple. All right. And that's one of the another keynotes about being, being awesome. All right. Because you don't have to compromise yourself to any bidding. You don't have to compromise yourself to anybody. All right. You don't have to compromise yourself just to meet any certain quota or goals to please others. You know what I mean? And what it says is, do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. Now, basically means, if you want to go to health terms, stress is one of the most dynamite ways to actually get you sick, to drop your immune system and all that craziness. Even let alone, it could possibly cause worse, death. You know what I'm saying? Because stress can really kill you. Can cause blood pressure and everything else, man. And the thing of it is that a doctor would tell you that you find yourself some peaceful curricular activities. That's what's going to soothe your nerves. That's what's going to calm your nerves. And the thing of it is for yourself is that if anybody or anything, any situation, that's what's, if you feel as though that you're in that situation for quite a long time, if you've been around this person and yet you feel as though is that, well, their nerve-wracking ways is outweighing the goodness about them and they're basically holding you back, you don't have to do that. Basically what you're doing is you're compromising their sin, and let alone you're compromising yourself to basically please them. And in essence, that's causing your stress levels to build. Don't do that, because if you do, then what self-worth do you got for yourself, and let alone what's gonna merit to anybody else? And let alone how anybody going to see the Christ in you if you're going to compromise yourself for others, or let alone for sin to please others? Because what you're doing is you're not only pleasing them, you're pleasing Satan. Verses 9 and 10. Don't half booty. Don't half booty your givings. If you give with and from your heart. That means honor the Lord with your wealth and the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over it with new wine. Now, what does this mean also? Well, basically, don't give begrudgingly. All right. Don't give expectantly. Don't give just for you to say, well, I expect, saying some things back. Expect God to do something for you in return, but give from your heart. But when you give from your heart, okay, when you give to know that, well, God, I'm asking God to do some things for me. And you know what? I'm going to give my tithings. Or, hey, there's nothing wrong with just going to your friend and just saying, you know what, man, I'm going to take you out to eat. Or, hey, sweetheart, I'm going to take you out to eat. Or, hey, God just, did this for me. You don't even have to tell them that God is doing this for you. You just simply do it. And in some cases, you may not even receive the response that that many people, you might not even get a thank you from them. You might not even get something in return from them, but the blessing comes from God. And when you know that God is going to bless you, say for doing that good deed for you, so doing that good deed for somebody else, then you're not necessarily just doing it for them. You're doing it for God, and you're doing it for God's sake. So let alone, don't be selfish in what you give. Don't just give just because you want something in return. Acknowledge God. It goes back to verses 5 and 6, and let alone 7 and 8. Always put your trust in God. This last bit, Proverbs 3 verses 27 and 28. Don't be a stumbling block to many when you have the ability to give. Now, what does that mean? Well, that implies, and it reads, do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back later, I'll give it tomorrow, when you now have it with you. What does that imply? Well, that also means don't be a stumbling block to those that need help. If you have the ability to give now, do it, because God will provide for you, and he will give to you, and he will give you what you need, even what you want, if you just put your trust in God. And I will tell you right now, if a person needs a new pair of shoes, don't just look at them like, okay, well, I hope you get it. You know what I'm saying? If you have the ability to give, and if they need a pair of shoes just for them to go to work, or, for them to, for them to do whatever they need to do with their life, then go ahead and do it. If they need just $10 just because they need a lunch, all right? And I will never forget this particular story. I was actually, I got my bank account, and what it was that the card that I had was just a placeholder card until I received my actual bank card from my mail. Now, I did not know I could actually use it, just to swipe just to get me a lunch. And I needed some lunch because I was hungry. But, as I, and my ticket ran up to like $6 and maybe 27 cents. And I was like, okay, well, look, here's my card. And they was like, yeah, we can't use it because I got to have a Visa logo on it. And I was just like, well, dang, I don't even have no cash on me. I just look like a dumb fool. But this person goes by the name John. He was like, hey, man, how much your meal was? I was like, it's only $6.27. And he was, hey, I got you, man. So he paid for me a meal. And, my thing of it was that was really an act of kindness. And he was like, hey, man, I got you. I was like, hey, man, I thank the Lord in you. And he was like, man, hey, don't thank me. Hey, that's no problem. I'm just his vessel. And I didn't even know that God did that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I knew in the sense that the Lord heard me, he did it. But man, when you have somebody to tell you that was all God, man, that was completely, it was a shocker, man. It was a shocker. And he, and because otherwise the only option I would have was just walk away and just survive on some water until I get home to eat, But the thing of it was that he did a good thing, and in that of course in turn will bless him, and probably have blessed him if God didn't bless him now on it. You know what I'm saying? So personally, what he did was he didn't cause himself to be a stumbling block, because if he didn't do it and God told him to do it, and if he didn't do it, then he was a stumbling block to himself. So just act with kindness, and if you have the ability to give now, do it. So what does this imply? What does this mean? Well, basically how all this applies to being, me just being awesome is quite simple. Well, the thing of it is with me is that I love because I love, all right? And I love because what God has instilled in me, all right? I mean, he has washed a lot of insecurities away from me. I'm still learning to basically give, and I've learned to give from my heart. And when I give, that's just a blessing from God himself. There's nothing I want anything in return, because I know God got my back, and many things that I do and what I give, I know I will receive in twofold. All right. And also, I don't wish to be a stumbling block to others. If I feel that I got something that they need, then I'm going to give it to them, because I know that God's going to take care of them, and that's why he's going to take the same way he's going to take care of me. So in all ways, I have to acknowledge him first. When I put my trust in Lord, okay, who has created heaven and earth, overall, what that implies and overall applies is that for me, all right, for me, that means basically that, in everything that I do, and even when I don't understand it, if there's something that I don't know, if there's something I don't know, if God's telling me to do something I don't know why, I don't question it. It's okay to doubt, but I don't question it any further. I just simply go ahead and move forward to do it. And even with this series, I even doubt it. But you know what? I hope that this portion of I love being tall, let alone being awesome, will be a benefit and a help to you. And with that, by his grace, Sho'Nuff.